You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
12 goals against in 2 games. Gonna mark that down. Not good. All right, let's get into it with the lead. Weekend doesn't go all that good for the Edmonton Oilers. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday, presented by Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We're coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online, sportscloset.ca. Pick up some Four Nations swag. I know I did. Did you get anything in the aftermath of Team Canada winning? Did you get the bug, Liam? Did you want to buy up a bunch of stuff?
Not yet.
Okay.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh,
we're rolling.
Okay, let me sit up.
Yeah, come on, buddy.
I don't got a brush. I got to brush my hair a little bit here. There we go. That'll do.
I think you look fine.
Fine is what I aim for every day.
Dacky
I
is
wish
in.
the Oilers would aim for fine in the mornings.
I think they are aiming for fine, and I think that's the problem. I think they need to aim a little bit higher. We're going to talk about that. Dacky is in. Good to have you back, Tyler. Good to be home, question mark. Yeah,
true.
Tremendous to be home.
I couldn't imagine.
So
2 weeks away from me.
Yeah, that's tough. I gave you a hug on Saturday at Greta, though.
You actually did. It was. I don't know if we've ever hugged before.
Oh, we've definitely hugged before.
Oh.
We've had a lot of loving embraces.
Oh.
But my sleep, when I got home, and I mean, the only shitty part is I haven't had like a real good sleeping day because I've been running around so much. But that sleep, the first night in my own bed, was absolutely unbelievable. And now, like, it usually happens when I travel, and I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. But, like, I know I'm getting sick at some point here, and I feel it coming. I feel it coming.
Yeah, the travel bug, it'll catch up to you. I think it's going to catch up to a lot of these guys on the Four Nations roster,
Well,
too.
especially for the Oilers and a team. And, I mean, hey, we'll get into it later, but Connor McDavid's not skating today at Oilers practice. I said it with Gregor last week. I was like, hey, would you give him Saturday off against Philly? I'm stunned they didn't. In hindsight now, especially seeing how ineffective he was, like, yeah.
I was surprised they didn't, too. Just an early game. Like, if that game's at 7 p.m. at home, I think it's a little bit different.
Yep.
Just because, like, obviously you get to sleep in your own bed for a night, all that kind of stuff. But, like, yeah, you throw them right into it after the highs of that. And it was funny, too. You look around the league, like, a lot of those players who were on that Canada team did not show up for their teams on Saturday either. I'm not sure what the results were like on Sunday for most of them, but obviously we saw McDavid didn't do anything for either game for the most part.
Nope. Was not a good weekend for the Edmonton Oilers. Here's what's coming up today on the show. We're going to break everything down from what we saw over the weekend, and exciting news, everybody. Devan Dubnyk's going to be a regular on the show going forward, which lines up perfectly as we enter a stretch where goaltending will be a massive conversation. But we had Duby on a month ago?
Yeah, just 2 or 3 weeks at the most.
Yeah, and he was great. I really enjoyed it. So we're going to have Devan on every week going forward. Louis is on tomorrow, so it's not a Louis replacement by any means. And I think our usual cadence going forward will be Louis sticks with Mondays and Doobie will come on Tuesdays. But again, every week, Devan Dubnyk, former Oilers goaltender, is going to be joining us on the show. So that's fun.
Someone
things up a little bit.
knows the highs and lows of goaltending in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Someone who was on the highs. We locked his numbers before his bad season, we'll call it, in Edmonton, were unreal. And giving up on a goalie too early.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Kreutzer is in. I just think this one's interesting. And again, we're not going to stick on the... Actually, you know what? I do kind of want to get into a few comments.
Well, should we read the Super Chat quickly?
Yeah, sure. All our Super Chats go towards the Ben Stelter Foundation, all the great work that they do. Jaran is in, drops in $2.79. He says, can I just say how much I loved John Cooper? And I'm with you. He's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, he seemed like to have a good vibe around the media as well. You can see him like, very open and relaxed when he was talking to everyone. And obviously, great quote as well after the Canada's epic victory royale.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Kreutzer is in. First off, our YouTube chat brought to you by our friends at Odd Company Brewing and the all-new Nation Beer Everyday Lager. Pick one up today at your local liquor store by going to liquorconnect.com or go right to the source. Odd Company Brewing has 2 locations in the Edmonton area. Not only are the beers unbelievable, but the food at those spots is good too. Kreutzer is in. McDavid was bad in the Four Nations final too, despite scoring the goal. McDavid has 18 points in 17 games this calendar year. -7. And listen, it's so hard to criticize Connor McDavid because he is Connor McDavid. He's a Mount Rushmore player in the sport. I really do believe that in terms of what he does and the way I think we're going to look back on the sport in 15, 20 years. I think Connor McDavid will absolutely change the way the game's been played. The speed, the skill, all of that stuff. He's the most skilled player that the sport's ever seen. So, like, who am I to sit here and criticize Connor McDavid? But by his standards, this has been a bad season.
I agree.
And early in the year, it was like, okay, he was banged up, whatever. You had the suspension, that threw a wrench in things. But, like, we have not had one true McDavid heater run. And we're going to talk, obviously, about the goaltending and the blue line and the depth forwards and all the other list of issues that exist right now on this team. And there are a lot of them. But the one issue that has never existed in the past, that is currently a problem right now, I mean, the Oilers' biggest luxury the last few years is that you have two superstars. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on any given night can absolutely carry you to victory, and more often than not, one of them does come through and carry you to victory. But this season, there's been one superstar carrying them, and it's Leon Draisaitl. And outside of Draisaitl, there hasn't been a consistent high-level producer on this team.
Yeah, there really hasn't been. When you look through it, even on the blue line, like I think Ekholm and Nurse have both been good and shown like quality for the most part, but like still have had their blunders. Like just looking, you said we haven't had that McDavid heater. There was a stretch in December he was really good. But honestly, since the calendar flip, like not seeing too many like 2-point nights, which is obviously like a high standard for most NHL players, but Connor McDavid isn't most NHL players, and you'd like to see him elevate his game. Like again, like you said, there's only really been one guy, Leon Draisaitl. Like over the weekend, everyone was so bad, and he still managed to come out with a goal in back-to-back games. I think he has them now in 5 straight. You look back to before the break, that Colorado game, he had a great 2-goal effort in that one too, and dragged them back in it. And this team is so interesting because they are second in the Pacific Division, and coming back from the break, they were first and had a grip on it, right? And they've not been good. A lot of players have not been that good. Like Hyman's obviously off his pace.
Even coming into the break, though, like when we were creeping up to the Four Nations break, the passes were sloppy. This team looked disjointed, at times disinterested, and it was like, you know what? Get them to the break. Let them reset. I know McDavid, Arvidsson, and Ekholm had to go play, but everybody else got 2 weeks to reset. And for them to come out and really play the way they did in both those games, like we're going to go through the goals. I have problems with a whole bunch of stuff. But for them to come out and play that way, coming out of break, like no excuses. And that's why I'm so irritated. Like good teams are going to lose hockey games. Good teams are going to go through bad stretches. We saw the Oilers early in the year go through a bad stretch. And I think that entire time, Liam, you and I were pretty consistent in our messaging of like, it's going to be okay. This is a very, very good hockey team. The shooting percentages, all that, they will figure it out. But last night, I mean, the Oilers forward group combined almost got outshot by Alexander Ovechkin alone. Like, that's embarrassing. They should be embarrassed with how they played this weekend.
Yeah, especially, and I think both games had obviously like okay moments. Like you come out against Washington, you get the power play goal, you capitalize on it early. Like you should be able to take some momentum from that. And they just, I don't know, like, and I agree, like, the goaltending was not good by any means over the weekend, but the team, I think, just let themselves down, like, all over the ice, and quite frankly, I think they should be pretty embarrassed by their effort, and that's honestly why I'm not that worried, because I think this team is too good to, I know we just relayed all the flaws they have, but even with all those flaws, they're still a top team in the league. Like, people believe they can go and win the Stanley Cup, and like, we've seen this already. They came back from the Christmas break and were terrible for 2 games against LA and Anaheim. Both games they should have probably won. I think they were probably worse in these 2 than they were in those 2, but then after that, they came back, and I think they won 3 straight. So I think they'll be fine against Tampa Bay. It's a tough test, don't get me wrong, but Tampa Bay is also a bit more name value now than what they used to be, I think is fair too.
Yeah.
Great team, but not as great as they used to be.
Not who they once were. I think that's fair. We'll talk about that in a little bit. First, let's finish our wrap-up of the weekend. It's the Scoring Summary Weekend Recap brought to you by Service Credit Union. The Service Big Share Contest is now in full swing, and it's your chance to win $1 million just by saving money. Anyone can enter by becoming a member and saving with Service. Every $500 saved gives you 5 entries into the Service Big Share Contest. Contest ends April 30th, 2025. Skill test required. For rules, visit service.ca/win. And it was the Oilers kicking things off with a game against the Philadelphia Flyers. And you're thinking, hey, Philly is not a good team. They do not have good goaltending. This should be a good walking back into the regular season point for the Oilers. You're not playing a world beater. You're playing a team that struggles to defend, and the Oilers muster up 18 shots in a losing effort. They get absolutely smoked by the Philadelphia Flyers, 6-3. Again, you can't give up 6 goals to that team, but this is the game that obviously ignited a lot of the conversation about goaltending. So I wanted to go back through some of these goals and talk about some of the issues. And I mean, hey, we were at Brunch for Ben. Aaron, you and I were talking about, Stuart Skinner and Evan Bouchard. Did anyone need the break more than those two guys? And to see them come out, and I mean, we can roll the first goal, the Matvei Michkov goal. He's got 17 goals on the season. I feel like 8 of them are against the Oilers, and they've only played twice. He seems to burn them. But that's just an inexcusable giveaway by Evan Bouchard. And then, I mean, I don't really blame Skinner on this one as much as he's scrambling around. But to me, this one here is on Bouch.
It's big time.
It's like, at some point, this can't happen. Like, you got to, and that's where I'm at with Bouch right now, and I'll give my take on Skinner in a little bit, but, like, you and I have been staunch defenders of Evan Bouchard all season, and I'm totally down. Sometimes guys go through bad stretches. Sometimes really good players have a bad stretch of 35 to 50 games. Like, and again, he's had good moments in there, and I agree the numbers are better than what the eye test suggests. All of that, I get it. At some point, this shit's got to stop with Evan Bouchard. At some point, you need to play like you have a brain between your ears. And that's what this play was. What do you think? What's the upside to you completing this toe drag? You get a maybe mildly better shot. That's not even a toe drag. That's just lazy. It's awful. It was awful, awful, awful. And again, I've defended Bouchard a lot on this show. And you have too, Liam. But holy shit, that cannot happen 2 minutes into the first game coming out of the break when you just had 2 weeks to reset yourself.
I think, too, like, it's such an easy play to make. Like, look who's on the wing. It's Zach Hyman. You can put that puck, like, put it in the corner, and Zach Hyman's going to go chase after it and give everything he's got for it. But, like, to you to do whatever this was, and then as a defenseman, too, like, you should know, like, recognize your team's on a bit of a line change, too. Everything's going to be a bit scrambly. And then, Skinner, I mean, what's he really supposed to do on that one? Big bounce off the backboards. I think he even deflected off Tippett as well, right onto Michkov's stick a little bit. But that's the mistake there, and that is the problem. And it has to end. Like, and it was recognized clearly by the coaching staff on the second time around. I think the first one, like, maybe not so much with Bouch because it happens so often. You can give the bit of a benefit of the doubt. But they did bench him for a period of time in this.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
They sat him down after the second giveaway. Someone said, I think Bouch is having a bad season because his social circle is gone. It's not an excuse. It's just reality. That one from Tanner. And listen, I'm not turning this into TMZ or a high school gossip session, but I mean, they've traded away all of his friends. If you know who, like, and whatever. I mean, we know who he was tight with.
But make new friends. Come on, Evan. You got to have some.
It's also professional hockey. So, like, if there is any sort of a reason behind the scenes that anyone is pouting because their friends got traded away, that's whatever. I wouldn't want that kind of player on my team. If that is any sort of the reason, I don't know if it is. I doubt it is because, again, you would hope to God he's a professional athlete and he can figure that out. So here's the thing about this hockey game. The Oilers were up 2-1 after the first period.
That's right.
Klingberg and Draisaitl score early on. Draisaitl's got 41 on the season. And, I mean, 9.5 minutes into Matt Savoy's NHL career, we're already sitting there going, ooh, this connection with number 29 is looking pretty good. I liked Matt Savoy this weekend. I thought he was one of the few Oilers who was consistently given it. And you can see the speed and skill and what is going to make him an effective top 6 player on this team. Get in, go into the corner against a much bigger Rasmus Ristolainen, pull it out, then have the skill and vision to find Leon Draisaitl. That was like, check, check, check. I like every single part of that from Matt Savoy, first career NHL point.
And that's what makes him different, I think, is I don't think a lot of young, undersized guys would be sprinting so hard to beat Rasmus Ristolainen into a puck on the boards. So they can find Leon Draisaitl in front, like, very impressive play by Savoy, and honestly, I think he's an elite talent. I really do. I've been able to watch this guy a lot growing up, and he's from the Edmonton area, of course, so unreal play. I'm glad. Also, really cool that Leon let him lead the flyby. Very subtle thing, but like shows the character of Leon there, I think.
Southpaw. Savoy used his body to come up with the puck. You'd love to see it.
Where's Arvidsson?
Brian Weber says Savoy's floor is Kevin Fiala. I don't know if they quite line up that way, but I get what you're saying. Like a 30-goal guy, 60, 70 points. I think that's what you're looking at here with Matt Savoy. It was a great start. We'll have more on Savoy in a little bit. Second period, that is where, things took a bit of a turn for the worse for the Oilers. They find a way to give up 4 goals in this second period. First one from Owen Tippett. This one was sometimes you tip your cap, right? And we do that a lot on this show. We kind of say, like, if you're going to tip it to your cap, if you're going to sit here and always be like, oh, the Oilers score great goals, McDavid, Draisaitl, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes guys on the other team are just going to do really impressive things. And Owen Tippett getting a full head of steam, then tucking a backhand right under the bar. Great goal. I have no beefs with this goal. That'll happen. The score's 2-2. You find a way to bounce back and just say, hey, sometimes you get beat, sometimes you get got.
Maybe a defenseman just shouldn't be so flat-footed, too, to allow the guy to sprint in. But, like, it was a good goal. Like, Sam Bennett just scored a goal like that against Connor Hellebuck in the Four Nations final.
Connor McDavid scored a goal like that against Connor Hellebuck, too.
He did. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes, like I said.
The 3-2 goals, one where I have a beef with it. Sean Couturier from Matvey Michkov. We'll get another look here at this one. Again, like, this game is 2-2. Should be in the fight. What is Evan Bouchard doing? And where this one almost doesn't irritate me as much as the first one is, like, someone got a stick in on it, and that's what redirected the pass. It's still inexcusable. But on the first one, like, that was just straight bonehead play by Bouchard. This one, like, that stick getting in the way is what threw it off. Also, make a save, Stuart Skinner. And I know people are going to sit there and be like, the Bouchard giveaway. Yes, Bouchard giveaway, very, very, very bad. Okay? Park it. People are going to sit there and go, backdoor feed. He had the whole net to shoot at. You know, goalies, like, make a big save, Stu. Stop this. Like, this is 1,000% a stoppable puck. Look how poorly he moves laterally. That's awful. I'm very intrigued to get Dubnyk's take on that when he joins the show. But this is one, like, we'll star it maybe, and I'll run it past Dubs. But I didn't like that one at all. The Oilers would eventually tie the game, and then it's Owen Tippett again, Andrei Kuzmenko as well. Just not good enough for the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know. You can't give up 4 goals in one period to the Philadelphia fucking Flyers. What are we doing?
On the team or on Stu? Or both? Everybody.
And, like, again, the team was not good, but Stuart Skinner, I mean, I don't want to hear any of this, like, new baby shit, whatever. Like, again, we just did something with Bouchard where, like, you're a pro. Like, you have to find a way to deal with it. And also, you just had 2 weeks. You just had a 2-week reset. You need to be better than this. And you can sit here and go, grade A looks. Look how bad the team was in front of them. Yes, the team was awful this weekend. Skater, basically everyone but Draisaitl and Savoy was horrific in these 2 hockey games. But you could have won this game with some saves.
Yeah, you probably could have. I think effort all over, just in general, to be honest. I just can't sit here and pin it on Skinner. I think it's just bad goals.
Yeah.
Bad turnovers leading to goals. Like, yeah, you can make a save, but also don't pass the puck up the middle. I don't care if it gets tipped. How many goals do you see that happen for the Oilers? I can't remember the last time that happened. But really, like, when was it? When was the last time the Oilers made a good defenseman look bad off a face-off like that because their defenseman made a mistake? Like, I've obviously putting you on the spot a little bit here, and my apologies, but I just don't recall it happen very often. You know what I mean?
Because the Oilers play goalies that make saves.
No, I'm not talking about goalies. I'm talking about plays like Bouchard. You know?
And I'm saying those turnovers happen.
Maybe they do.
They just don't end up in the back of the net every single time.
Well, they just put up 4 against Colorado as well. Like,
yeah. Well, here's where I'll agree with you as we shift our focus to the Washington game really quick, because I know we're going to get to Dubnyk here, and he's going to be able to give us a bit more insight into some of this. But, like, honestly, I did not like Stuart Skinner's game on Saturday at all. I didn't love the Chikrin goal that Pickard gave up. Like, that's one where, like, you need a save here. But I went back this morning and watched, like, the condensed game on this one. And good Lord, the Oilers could have lost this game 12-3.
Yeah, they really could have.
I know Skinner made a couple of nice saves in the third period. Again, it's the Flyers. At least this one, you can sit there and be like, hey, we gave up a 7 spot, one with an empty netter. But, like, Washington has scored 15 goals this weekend alone. 7 straight games where the Capitals have scored 4 or more goals. They're a nightmare right now. They're so good. And, like, this one, again, did not like this one at all. Basically, every other goal was either Ovi with a snipe or a guy was left all alone in front. And then on top of that, the Oilers turned over like 6 other pucks that directly led to scoring chances, and Calvin Pickard stopped a bunch of really, really high danger looks. And again, he looks unorthodox. He's not like...
He's different.
He's different. But, like, again, that game they could have gotten beat 12 times, and they were lifeless. Just fucking nothing going for them. So I'm disappointed in this week. How could you not be? But, like... Big picture wise, yes, the Oilers will be fine, I know. But, like, man, it's hard right now in the moment on a 3-game losing streak when you just came out of a 2-week break. There is no reason to be flat-footed. There's no reason to be playing the turnover-riddled style of hockey that they're playing right now. It's very frustrating.
It is. And I really don't know what's going to happen
Yeah.
by like the trade deadline, because Evander Kane is such a mystery right now. It sounds like if Frank's calendar lines up, it could be like Monday we hear more about him, I think, right?
Well, the Oilers need to hear more, because if you can't use Evander Kane's money, you can't do anything at the deadline. It's dollar in, dollar out, which totally fucks you.
And to be honest, we can sit here and talk about the goaltending with you guys all day. Stan Bowman said in 3 separate interviews they have no interest in getting one. And that's I
just talked to Frank the other day. Frankly speaking, said no.
Spoke to Nugent Bowman, LeBron, and he's just like, we're good. So we can all be pissed off about it. I want the goalies to be better too, don't get me wrong, but I just find it difficult to sit here and see the conversations of like, let's get John Gibson. They can't afford him. Let's get Vermelka. Utah's trying to make a playoff push. Like, Sid, who works with us, wrote an article talking about the 2 Detroit goalies. Like, well, why would Detroit move a goalie? Like, there's just not an option. Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickett are this team's goalies, whether we like it or not, unless something crazy happens within the next 2 weeks.
To keep the goaltending conversation going, head out to the Star Mechanical guest line. It's Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about them online at starmechanical.ca, whether it's residential, commercial, 24/7 emergency service, where things are starting to melt in Edmonton, and that can sometimes lead to some funky things happening at your house. If you need emergency service, Star Mechanical is there for you, as we welcome in former Oilers goaltender Devan Dubnyk. And Devan, the beginning of your weekly appearances on the show comes at a time when the Oilers just gave up 12 goals in 2 games. It lines up pretty well to talk about goaltending.
Yeah, well, I've been there. I've let in 12 goals in 2 games before too, so it is not the end of the world.
Just before we kind of zero in on the goaltending side of things, we've been spending the bulk of this first part of the show just talking about how, again, the turnovers, the lack of energy, all of this for the Oilers. It was a problem this weekend, and it comes when they're coming out of this 2-week break where everyone got a chance to kind of rest and reset. My frustration with how slow and sluggish they look, is that justified? Or as a former player, I guess is what I want your opinion on, how tough is it coming out of this 2-week break? Like, are you truly energized, or do you need to kick the rust off a bit?
There's definitely some rust there, and there doesn't always have to be. But it is tough. Listen, a 2-week break in the middle of the season and then jumping right back in. And it's not just a 2-week, you're not skating, you're not practicing, you have a few leading up. But I always found it difficult to get right back in. There is definitely some rust, and sometimes it works, but there is a chance. Their best player just put on a show and at the Four Nations, and it's a come down. I'm sorry, there's no way around it. I know this is a big time in the season, but you come off scoring an overtime winner in the final of Four Nations, it's going to be tough to get up for that next game. And I mean, he's obviously he's a force no matter what. But there is, and some teams, if you go throughout the league, there's always going to be, and you got back-to-back games coming out of it too. So they're definitely going to have to clean things up. It's a little bit of everything, but there's a lot of chaos going around in front on those goals.
And I guess that's kind of where we wanted to go next, is like how much of the OV1's an empty netter, so the goalies got beat 12 times this weekend for the Oilers. How much of this do you put on the goalies? And I mean, I hate this because I think it's such a clickbaity way to frame it, but like everyone's asking, do the Oilers have a goaltending problem? And it's like, I don't know if I want to go that far, but where do you come out on how these two guys are playing right now and kind of how they've played through 50-some games this year?
Well, it's always going to be a question in Edmonton. We talked about it last time I was on the show, and it's just something that they're going to have to deal with. It's something that the team's going to have to deal with, and it's how they respond. Watching those games, there's definitely some rust. It's a combination. There were some goals that needed to be saved there, but as a goalie, when you're in there and it's mayhem in front of you, that's when those goals start to go in, because you're starting to see 10 guys on the ice on the other team, and you're thinking, you look at the Pickard, that wrist shot that you were just talking about. Now, that's watching that play. The last thing he's thinking about is that wrist shot coming from the point. He's thinking about other things. He's drifting back in his net. He obviously let himself lose sight of the puck, which are all things that are our job. But when things are chaotic in front of you, you can start thinking that there's going to be 3-4 passes, or it's going to hit a shin pad. All these things are going to happen. And then you forget to do all the little things to be set here. The puck comes out to the blue line, and you can watch his feet. He comes out, and he's thinking something else. He starts drifting backwards here, and he lets himself lose the puck. Obviously, the puck was probably snapping around a little bit previously in this game, and he's just not thinking that shot's coming, and that's just not being sharp. But that's the kind of things that can happen. You watch their movement Again, watching this, just watch his feet as he drifts back. So he's sliding backwards into the net. So he just allows himself to. And you can kind of watch the chaos in both games a little bit of some plays. There was one in the second period here that looked like a 2-on-0 in practice. There was a 2-on-0 in the Philadelphia game, and that can start to affect the way a goalie plays. And you can see in his movements that he's just not trusting what's going on in front of him. So yes, it is a goalie's job tighten up, and they need to get back to the structure that lets them feel good and be good. But it's a full team thing that they got to get structured in front of them as well and work together to get that good feeling back.
Yeah, so true. Like, you look through these goals, and so many of them come off turnovers, and then, like you said, there's multiple options of what could happen. So I guess that leads to another question. Do you think the blue line is good enough to, I guess, help out the goaltending, or do they need an upgrade on there as well?
Well, I think I think it's a full team defense thing. And it's that structure in front of you, and it's not giving up scoring chances. If teams are going out there and they're trying to not give up shots and they're doing everything, that turns into chaos. Guys getting out of position to block a shot because they just don't want a shot to get on net. That goes the opposite way. Then it just becomes guys sliding around out of position, and you feel that chaos in front of you. So I think with Edmonton's defense right now, I mean, Edmonton is in a position that they should be looking to upgrade any way they possibly can because they are a strong cup contender. But you kind of know what you get from the guys there. So for me, it's a veteran presence back there. Somebody stable that can calm things down when it does get chaotic. Who that is, that obviously comes down. You guys are talking about salary cap and whatnot earlier. I don't think it's necessarily a big splash, but an older guy that is stable, that can go on the ice when things are feeling a little chaotic and really settle the whole group down, I think is important for this team because things can just start to unravel and it goes five guys and a goalie on the ice when you don't feel like things are in control. You can watch the goalie's movements as well, that even watching their movements feels chaotic because I know what it's like to be back there when you just don't know what's happening in front of you. And all of a sudden the game starts to become way quicker than it is. And you can just watch the movements in their crease before goals, when the goals go in. It's chaotic and it seems panicked. And that's kind of the feeling when you watch the teams, a lot of running around, chasing, trying to catch up, and it doesn't work.
It's a great lead into the next question I wanted to ask you and maybe do a little film breakdown here. But the Sean Couturier goal, Aaron, if we could pull that up, the 3-2-1 against Philadelphia, it comes on the heels of, again, another ugly Evan Bouchard turnover. It was his second really bad one of the game that directly or indirectly led to a goal against. But I'm curious for your take on Stuart Skinner on this one, because I kind of said, man, I'd like to see him find a way to make this save just when you look at how he moves across here. But what do you see from Skinner here that kind of allows him to get beat on this chance? And maybe, again, does this speak to like the chaos in front of him just causing him to misread a play maybe?
Yeah, it's not necessarily misread, but that's, for players, they call it squeezing the stick. So, this is a bad turnover, which kind of causes panic to begin with. He oversets on this shot. If you watch the player's body here, I'm not sure who makes the pass there, but is it?
I think it's Michkov.
He makes the turnover, makes the pass. He's not in a great position to shoot here, so Skinner doesn't need to be fully set on that shot. I mean, that's what happens is he wants to make this save so bad. It's a turnover. Chaos happens, the heart rate goes up. This is not a dangerous play. So he should not be overplaying this shot right here as a threat. He needs to feel what's going on around him. And when you're relaxed and seeing it, he would know that there's not a great chance he's going to put that on net. And if he does, it's not a danger. And you can see he just oversets on this one and allows himself to lose sight of the puck, which is something else that happens when you're not feeling comfortable with what's going on in front of you. But you can see because he oversets on the initial shot, which turns out to be a pass, there's no movement side to side because he essentially loses his edges right here and then reaches for it. He doesn't actually read the play, and he's probably allows himself to get screened here as well, which, like I mentioned, when things feel chaotic in front of you, that's one thing that you have to battle through is finding the puck. It's a tendency, it's an instinct where you kind of just allow yourself, you lose sight of the puck, and instead of working through it to find it, you kind of allow yourself to lose it, and you just freeze up a little bit. And that's a perfect example on that play where I think he might have allowed himself to lose it. Instead of making one extra movement to find it and feel the guy off, he just wants to make sure he stops it, and so he drops, and then all he can do is reach, because it wasn't a far push to go if he's relaxed and feels that guy off to his left.
I think that's I'm just because it kind of caught my attention, but the idea of having to look through a screen, like I do think myself, I'm even seeing it in the chat right now. People were going, he was looking through a screen. What do you want him to do? And like, yes, being screened, I would imagine, is very difficult when there's a big body in front of you. But how much of that is on a goalie to have to grind through that? Like, shine some more light just on that comment of like, you have to look through a screen a little bit.
Yeah, and listen, there are times when it's impossible, and if you go behind Stuart Skinner, if you go in his eyes, maybe it is impossible. There's no way to really know. All I know is when I was playing, and when you do start to feel tight and a little uptight and nervous, and you're squeezing a little bit, that's what I'm saying. You get tight and you allow yourself to get screened. So instead of being fluent and kind of knowing the play in front of you and knowing where you have to look, knowing a guy's here and a guy's here, and I have to go here, or maybe I have to go here, wherever it is to see it. When you're fluent and you're feeling good, you know where those spots are and you find it. And when you're tight, your body is tight, you're tight in your stance, and so when you get screened, you're not flowing, you're not fluid to be able to find the hole on where to look. And again, there are situations where there's no hole and it's impossible to see. That could have been one of them, but you can just see the tightness where, and then as soon as that puck comes off his stick, he goes down and loses his edges. So it's a battle when you're not feeling good, because you get tense and then you lose the puck and you get more tense instead of being relaxed and finding it. And it's just something that you got to work through.
This Oilers team as a whole right now, like, again, I use the word lifeless. That's probably a little bit too harsh, but they came into this year, like you said, legitimate Stanley Cup contender. They're number one on the odds board. A lot of people considered them the favorite this year. And I said early in the year, like, they might come out of the gates. It's not a Stanley Cup hangover, but I think after a run that was exhilarating, that was as exhilarating as their playoff run was, there might be a little bit like, just get me back to the playoffs. Like, enough of this regular season stuff. And I don't wonder if maybe we're seeing a little bit of this right now. Like, I would imagine if you're on a team that's fighting every night, knowing every win could change your chances of going to the playoffs, it's maybe easier to stay engaged in game 55, 65 as you head closer. If you're the Oilers and it's like, hey, we know we're going to the playoffs, we know this season is going to be judged based on how we do in the playoffs, like, could that be leading to a little bit of what we're seeing now? Like, they're just looking past games because they're like, shit, just get us to the playoffs already.
Yeah, it's definitely something. It's kind of the dog days of the season. I mean, you're coming off of this break. You know you're a playoff team. You're planning on being in the playoffs. They want to go all the way this time. You're right. That is a thing, and there's ups and downs throughout the entire season. This is definitely a difficult time of year. You're getting close to the end, but you still have 25 games left. You still have quite a few games left. So that thought can creep in a little bit. I don't think consciously creep in, but just in general as a team, where you can get in a lull and you can get in a little bit of a rut and then start feeling like, God, I wish we could just be in the playoffs right now. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You got 25 games left, and the most important thing is figuring out how to get out of it quickly. And then, like we've talked about with any teams, Edmonton or anybody, the one thing you need is you want to be ramping up and being at the top of your game come playoff time. So hey, if they need a little lull right now and a little kick in the butt to get going, that's fine. This is the right time for it. You don't want this 10 days before playoffs or 2 weeks before playoffs where all of a sudden now it's a panic. You're leading into playoffs and you're in a rut. Now it's panic to get out. And you're feeling that time crunch where you only have a few games left to get to the top of your game. Let them get it out now, get the rust out, get things back on track, and have them top of their game leading into playoffs.
You want to wrap? I'll do Demko Lankinen.
Yeah,
it's in the Pacific Division, so I think it's worth talking about. Giving Kevin Lankinen a 5-year deal at $4.5 million a year. Like, he's never played 40 games in a season. Like, he played 43 games combined the last 2 seasons with the Nashville Predators, and the Canucks commit big money to him. And then there's also the Thatcher Demko side of this where, I mean, he has not been able to stay healthy. I know he's got stuff going on with his knee and all that. But what did you make of Kevin Lankinen? Again, 147 games into his career, getting $20 million, more than $20 million guaranteed from the Canucks. And what do you think about this duo going forward? Because who knows what they're going to do with Demko now?
Yeah, and that's going to be seen. Obviously, that'll be down the road. I think this is a great signing. You look at the salary cap going up. You have a backup who hasn't been backup essentially, has played extremely well, put in the situation he's in. This is a great signing by Vancouver in the offseason. I think the advanced statistics on Lankinen, it was a little surprising that he went unsigned. I think he was the best goaltender available in free agency. Uh, if you look at years past, he was playing extremely well, and so Vancouver went out and grabbed him for cheap. He's had his opportunity to play. It's been enough with Demko now with the injuries that they don't really have a choice. They need an insurance because it's too bad. You have Demko, who's one of the best goalies on the planet when he's healthy, and unfortunately he just hasn't been. And it is continuous. It's now become a constant that he comes back and he goes back down. And Vancouver is a team that's looking to be in the playoffs and hoping to do something in the playoffs, and they can't rely on one guy who is constantly going down, and if he's down, they don't have a chance. They have now seen enough from Lankinen, and it's not just this year. Like I said, he had played well, played really well for Nashville as well before, that they're comfortable giving him 4.5. And the thing is that with the salary cap going up now, if you got a 1B or even a 1A, if you got a 1A, 1B combination, I don't think 4.5. If you have a really good one, I don't think 4.5 is actually that crazy for your second goalie. If you can chop them up now, but you give one guy 7 and one guy 4.5, that's kind of what it's going to be now with the salary cap, if as long as it continues to rise the way it's projected.
That's a good point. I mean,
Yeah.
by next season, 10% of the cap is going to be 9.8-ish. 9.7-ish. So the Canucks, even with this duo, are still right around that 10% of the cap, which is a good point. I think that's kind of the number you want to be at. Devan, this was a lot of fun. We look forward to doing it every week. Our chat, I think it was 7 who put it in the chat. They admired the arcade game setup you have behind you. What do we got there? A little golden tee?
We got a little everything. Yeah, we got Golden Tee, old school arcade, bubble hockey, buck hunter, touchscreen on the back. I thought my kids would like it. They don't get touched very often, so maybe as they get older they'll start to use them a little more. But it was more for me, a little childhood throwback.
Well, when we get Oilers Wild round 3 in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and Liam and I are coming down to Minnesota, we'll make sure we stop by and put them to use.
They need some use. Come on over.
All right, thanks, Devan. We'll chat with you next week.
See ya.
Hey, thanks, guys.
There you go. Devan Dubnyk on the Star Mechanical guest line. Appreciate him popping on. Appreciate the insight. As someone else said in the chat, Devan just talked me off the ledge when it comes to the Oilers goaltending. He has a calming way of talking, actually. It's a little like Louis. You know, we always say Louis is our therapist. Devan can be our goalie therapist for the rest of the year.
Yeah, hopefully every time we have him on, we know how to have ask him the questions like, is there a problem here? Are we going to be okay?
Well, wait. Okay, let's look into let's look into the future.
Okay.
Next Tuesday, Devan Dubnyk comes on. Oilers have just played 3 games. Stuart Skinner's got a 28 save shutout against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Boom, that's under his belt.
Yep.
Calvin Pickard backstops the team to a 3-2 win against Carolina, and then Skinner stops 38 of 40, and the Oilers come home with a 2-1 record. And next week we get to have Devan on, and we go, Devan, what are you noticing that's different in Stuart Skinner's game? Is he all the way back? That'd be fun.
That would be ideal. We'll see. Skinner did play really well against Tampa Bay earlier in the season, of course. Carolina, he had a good game against too earlier in the year. Florida, not so much. But nevertheless, I think the Oilers will be okay over these 3 games. I'm projecting a 2-1. 2-1? Actually, no, screw that. 3-0. Why not? I don't think Kachuk's playing for Florida.
No, Kachuk's going to be out for a little bit here.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a little bit, maybe with the rumor mill and some trade stuff for the Oilers. But let's continue along with the show. Let's get to a lineup report because I think that's pretty interesting. It's brought to you by our friends over at Oodle Noodle. You can win your way into our Vegas Nation vacation just by stopping in to an Oodle Noodle. Any of the 14, 15 locations in the Edmonton area, by the way, no purchase necessary. You walk in the door, you get an entry. You buy some delicious noodles, you get a second entry. You could be joining us in Vegas. This is your last week to do it. You only have until March 2nd. That is 7 days away, as disgusting as that sounds. February is absolutely flown by. But if you want to get in, you only got a week left to do it. Hit up a Oodle Noodle in Edmonton today. Bob Stauffer had the lineup for the Oilers today at skate. Connor McDavid not on the ice for the Edmonton Oilers. Instead, it's Zach Hyman playing center. Okay. The fact that they're lining up like this, to me, says that McDavid's playing. If McDavid wasn't playing tomorrow, you wouldn't have Zach Hyman playing center, is my thinking.
You know what else it says to me?
What?
I think Arvidsson might be a scratch tomorrow.
I think Victor Arvidsson's going to be a healthy scratch tomorrow.
Yeah, because obviously Hyman has Flipovis, going to scored last game, which actually could lead to him being a healthy scratch. Oh, boy. I don't hate it. I think Skinner needs to be higher up the lineup. Savoy obviously done well next to Draisaitl. I think this 4 center thing is, honestly, I think it's the way to go. I couldn't care less how much Adam Henrique makes to be our 4th line center. If he fills a void and that line is productive and can do well, then so be it. It is what it is. What do you think? Also, too, okay, Troy Setcher isn't. I was going to say, does that guy still play here?
I can't. To me, this makes not playing Emberson and putting in Stetcher. John Klingberg's the problem.
He did not. He was not good against Washington. But again, I think it's okay to sit the younger guys and just give them one game to reset to. Like Emberson is only a 2nd-year player.
It might still 2 weeks to reset.
I know, but like sometimes you can reset at home, but resetting in the stands is obviously way different. Klingberg, they clearly just want to try and run it out until the deadline and see what they've got. To me, I think it's pretty obvious what they've got. They've got a guy who can give you okay games defensively every so often, but will have his lapses in the D zone. But I think we'll be pretty consistent in the O zone for the most part.
Yeah.
Great 7th defenseman. Shout out Troy Stetcher.
I'm willing to pull the plug on the Klingberg experiment.
Oh, I am too. I actually, so NHL Sid wrote that article on defensemen, and one name he threw out there was Olli Mata. And he said the idea around it was, and I didn't hate it actually. Obviously, you've mentioned how Utah have so many defensemen.
Yeah. Valimaki cleared waivers today, by the way.
Oh, okay, he did clear. So you and the others don't do this anymore. Go 11-7, and then you kind of utilize Klingberg and Mata as like you need a defensive guy. Mata goes in, offensive guy. Klingberg goes in. I don't hate that actually. I don't hate the idea if that's kind of the avenue you have to go down. Obviously, Mata, not a lot of money. His name's not really been thrown that there. He's not on anyone's list.
No, he was traded for a 3rd-round pick earlier this year, so the idea would be it probably cost you a 3rd or a 4th to get him now.
Exactly, which is good value, I think.
Yeah, it might be. And I think he's better than Stetcher, and he's better than Klingberg. But
I think so, too.
Again, my thing is I would be so nervous about John Klingberg being a top 4 defenseman come playoff time. Mm-hmm. I feel better about Olli Mata. I don't feel a lot better about Olli Mata. You know what I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah. It'll just be a matter of time before we see what happens.
Yeah. Good pull, Liam. Attaboy, Gene. Looks like Skinner's going to get the start tomorrow again. Pressure's on for Stuart Skinner, and that kind of brings me, Liam, to my my one big take. It's for our friends at Tim Hortons, and I kind of want to put the bow on. I want to put a bow on this whole kind of call it goaltending talk with this one. First off, for Tim Hortons, Canada, your favorite contest, is back. Roll Up to Win is back at Tim Hortons, and that means you could win millions of amazing prizes with just the swipe of your thumb. Imagine turning your routine Tim's run into an unforgettable vacation with Sell-Off Vacations, a $1,000 Rakuten cash prize, or an all-new, all-electric 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz. Even the simple joy of winning a free coffee or donut can make anyone's day, but you only have up until March 23rd. So get that Tim's app and get rolling, or as they say, rolling.
We are so back.
We are back.
Country. Roll Up the Rim is back. Canada's winning best on best hockey games, and we're sitting here complaining about goaltending. We are on the up, baby. Let's go.
Rules apply. Canada only. No purchase necessary. Visit Tim's app for details. Trevor, clip that. Also, Canada won at the Four Nations with the Tim Hortons logo on their helmets.
They sure did. Canada, baby. Take that.
Roll up the rim. All right. Here's my rant. You and I have both been very, very aggressive Stuart Skinner defenders. Mm-hmm. And a big part of that for me earlier in the season was, and I believe I had a lot of logic in thinking this, we had seen Stuart Skinner in back-to-back seasons come out of the gates slow. The first time around, it was because he got thrown into the fire because Jack Campbell, for lack of a better phrase, shit his pants. And Stuart Skinner had to be a number one, even though he'd basically never been an NHL goaltender before, right?
Yeah.
I cut him some slack, and then eventually that year he got hot, played really, really well. Playoffs didn't go great. Go to the next season. Start slow. Whole team starts slow. But then Stuart Skinner dials it in for about 3.5 months, and he is unbelievable, one of the best goalies in the NHL.
Literally the best goalie from January on.
Playoffs didn't go well for the first half, but then in the second half, he outduels Jake Ottinger, helps the Oilers get to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Okay, this year he starts slow. And my defense of the whole thing was, hey, last year we saw this. He will get hot. He will start playing good hockey at some point. Where I'm starting to change my tune and sort of lose my patience with Stuart Skinner a bit is we haven't seen the heater yet. Like, even that little run of good hockey that he played, which was basically mid-December until, call it mid-January, that was very short-lived, and it wasn't the high end we saw during the, 15, 16-game heater that we got last year.
Yeah.
It is go time for Stuart Skinner. And what I'm saying is I still, at this moment, February 24th, 2025, I do not believe the Oilers are going to get a goaltender at the trade deadline. I still stand by that belief. And again, 2 weeks is not a lot of time, but at the same time, 2 weeks is a lot of time. The Oilers have 5 hockey games until the trade deadline. I am giving Stuart Skinner 4 of those starts, and I'm doing it. Maybe you don't tell him, but hopefully he gets the message. This is your chance. You can prove in these next 5 that you got big games in you because you have some tough hockey games in this stretch. Like, to me, my big take, the pressure's on for Stuart Skinner. You have 10 days to hold on to your starting job in my books, and if you give me 4 poor starts, I am 1,000% getting a goalie next Friday. And as much as I think we got to be careful how we clip this because the online group is going to absolutely kill me. But if he can play really good hockey with some pressure on here for a week, I feel a lot better about maybe not getting a goalie. If he continues to play the way he's played the last few starts, you're going to have no choice if you're Stan Bowman. You're going to have to pay whatever the price is for an Alex Lyon or whoever. You're going to need to get some level of support in here. I don't think they're getting Gibson. There's no way they're getting Gibson. I don't think they're getting Binnington. That seems like incredibly far-fetched, and I'm not sure if Binnington's even close to an answer either.
They can't even afford him.
They can't afford him. Like, that's what I mean, right? Like, you can't afford a $6 million goalie. Can you give up a whole bunch to get Vejmelka? Maybe. I don't think the cost is going to be the Jake Allen cost from last year. Otherwise, I'd probably do it. But, again, Stuart Skinner, the pressure's on, buddy. You got 10 days to grab hold of this starting job and say, I can get dialed in and give you good starts. We'll see if he ends up doing it.
Yeah, I think, it's obviously a huge one for them. It could be the difference between whatever success they have in the playoffs and what they don't. It's hard to argue anything against your idea. Like, he really does have these next couple of weeks to change the opinion of the fan base, which I think is going to be very difficult, but he needs to find his way, and no better way to do it against one of the best teams in the NHL for the past decade in the Tampa Bay Lightning, who it's a tough road trip for Edmonton. It's like that California road trip they would always have to go on because we were terrible back then, so it's a little bit different. So, yeah, he's got to step up. My big takeaway is Victor Arvidsson. Like, where are you, man? Like, you go to this 4 Nations, somehow make that Sweden team, get healthy scratched in that game, and luckily people got sick and you get back on, and then come back, and that penalty he took against Washington. So like, bad. I appreciate the aggression, and like, I don't mind that. We have asked for that, but like, pick the moments, man. And like, maybe just don't come in so hard. Just like tie up that guy, you know. Like, maybe give him a couple of shots, but like the way he did it was so dumb. If you're not
scoring, you can't be doing that.
No, exactly. And now it's like we said, like, we're assuming he could be the healthy scratch tomorrow. I would trade him. Honestly, there's so many.
Someone tweeted yesterday, they were like, I wouldn't be heartbroken if they traded Victor Arvidsson, and I'm almost getting to the point where I expect him to be traded.
I kind of do too. I think if the Oilers really want to make a move and Kane comes back, you can ship Arvidsson out and just put Kane in the lineup.
Yep.
And Kane's a better player than Arvidsson for sure, I would say right now.
What a wild disappointment he's been.
$4.1 million, no trade protection. If you want to bring in a defenseman, you want to bring in Jamie Alexiak. Unfortunately, you're probably going to have to throw in maybe a pick to make them take Arvidsson, but the salary kind of...
They might just take him.
Oh, you think a 1-for-1?
Would you give up 2026 first Arvidsson for Alexiak? You do it?
Our 2020 first?
2026 first, yeah. And Arvidsson for Alexiak.
No, I still think Arvidsson's a middle 6 NHL player. I wouldn't add a first
pick to him. Jamie Alexiak has one more year of term.
I wouldn't do that. I do.
You know, like Alexiak probably cost you a first, straight up.
But I'm not. Yeah, that's fine. I would do that, but I wouldn't add Arvidsson to it as well. I think that's a bit too steep. I would add some picks for sure. Like, I think the highest I would go would be a second, and then maybe you can get a player in there.
I just think Arvidsson's going to have no value to anybody here. No playoff team's going to want to trade for him because he's playing poorly. No rebuilding team's going to want to touch him because he's redundant, and you can just call someone up and put him in a spot.
I don't know. I think at first, I think there's a bit more value in that first round pick than dumping it with Robertson. I think you could.
I'm doing it more to get Alexiak though, and then the money. That's just to make my money work.
I wouldn't do it, but I would do picks. However, I would do it, and Alexiak would be my number one guy for sure.
I think I'm starting to like Alexiak more and more. The more
He's
I dig into it.
He's a great skater.
Such a good
for
skater.
a big man. Yep. Brings that kind of calmness, I guess you could say, too. I don't know. I want the Oilers to be so crazy, but they just won't be. What number do you think McCarron will wear?
Dude, if they give up a second-round pick for Michael McCarron, I might retire. I might go whatever.
We've got enough money.
Pick up my dad's business.
Yeah.
I feel like I could be a decent plumber.
I might just do this. I could just do it at home.
If they trade a second-round pick for Michael McCarron, that is just like... There's just no way. There's no way. All right, continuing along. Rumor mill for our friends at Charm Diamond Centers. You can get a custom ring built and delivered in less than 4 weeks with Charm and their Masterpiece program. Find out more by visiting them online, charmdiamondcenters.com. Frank Cervalli today saying the smoke around Mikko Rantanen potentially being flipped by the Canes is legit.
He said that today?
Said it today.
Damn, he's been basically since he acquired him. Frank's
I know,
like,
he's been hinting at it.
Trade him.
Yeah.
We talked about this on Friday. Obviously, if you're the Oilers, you try and get Rantanen, but I also think Frank said something like they would want a similar return, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think the Oilers have that to match.
No, and that's what
trade Nuge essentially.
Yeah, like the only
probably not as good.
Apparently, that's what Carolina would want. Is you got to give them something back that's similar to what they traded. It's like, holy shit, how
do
like what team can give you a Martin Necas? Like that again is just
Colorado.
What. Yeah, Frank kept bringing up. And everybody get ready to win. Kept bringing up Vegas. I don't know. Like, who is that piece? Like, Barbashev?
Yeah, that's it. That's totally it.
So, Barbashev and a pick?
Barbashev.
And he's got like term?
A middle six young player they have.
What is Barbashev's trade protection is an 8-team no-trade list. So, yeah, it probably works.
Are they doing Barbashev, Brett Howden?
Barbashev and Brendan Brisson?
Yeah, like... Something. I'm trying to think of that, like Jack Drury.
Lavoie.
Yeah, he's probably got some value. Yeah.
What's Lavoie done this year with the Golden
Knights?
He
played last night.
Yeah.
He's on that second line.
Yeah, he's played 5 games this year, no points, -3.
Okay, so here's a
6 shots.
Here's a question for you.
Yikes.
And I probably said then of like Howden or Nicholas Wise, maybe a bit too steep, but like if Vegas, if their business this year is they get Mikko Rantanen and they have to trade Barbashev and let's say it's Howden just for the sake of this. Are you like, I'm still not that worried about them. Like, I think they're a great team, and like Rantanen is obviously a sick player, but like they're not deep as it is to lose like 2 depth forwards. Like I
get what you're saying.
It wouldn't harm them, I guess, but like, I don't think it makes them like that much better. I still think the Oilers would beat them.
Yeah, I think if you're Vegas, part of the reason you do this versus why other teams would maybe be hesitant is like while other teams sit there and they're like, oh, could he walk? If you're Vegas and you're like, they have that confidence that like if we bring you in, you are gonna love it so much here, we will resign you.
Yeah, and everyone leaves anyway, and they just figure it out.
They figure it out. Yeah. All right, Don Sweeney in Boston said his team is going to have to take a, quote, more cautious approach to the deadline. Sweeney's been a consistent buyer for a while. The Bruins, sitting 1 point out, are now not going to have Charlie McAvoy for a bit, and they've lost Hampus Lindholm for the entire season. There's Trent Frederick, there's Justin Brazeau, there's pending RFA Morgan Geekie. I think all those guys would be intriguing fits for the Oilers in different ways. Like, if I'm trading for a guy with size in my bottom 6, I'm getting Brazeau before I touch Michael McCarron.
Brazeau before Michael. Yeah. Oh, yes. Totally.
And Frederick before both of them and all of that.
The problem with Brazeau is he's just not as physical as maybe a player of his size you would want.
Yeah.
But say he's a quality bottom 6 player.
But the real interesting thing, and where the Oilers and Boston become very, very intriguing trade partners, is if they suddenly become open to trading Brad Marchand, or if they're open to trading Brandon Carlo. And there is a world, Liam. Call me crazy.
Crazy.
And this is like 0.5% chance that this ever happens. But I'm willing to say there's hope. If Boston decides to blow it up, you can make Carlo and Marchand work.
Tell me about it.
Combined, they're $10.2 million, but you'd have Boston keep 50% of Marchand for the rest of the year.
Okay.
So now you're sitting here and you need to find a way to squeeze in $7.2 million in cap hit, roughly $7.1 million.
Arvidsson,
and then Kane's LTIR space, and you're good. The deal's done. Or you even just throw Klingberg in with that, and it's almost done.
I mean, yeah, that sounds awesome. That's a trade I'll give up a first-round pick for.
So if you wanted to get both Marchand and Carlo, you are giving up your next 2 firsts and probably Boeki.
Marchand and Carlo.
Yeah.
2 firsts.
Carlo's got 3 years and Boeki.
You're probably not going to have to do that crazy, but yeah, it's a steep price for sure. And I'd probably do it, to be honest. Like, it's a big difference. Yeah. Marchand doesn't have the legs anymore, but he has basically everything else, which is fine.
Someone said terrible deal for Boston. Yeah, they probably want like a higher end piece or like someone who's closer to the NHL. But like, again, even that, maybe it's a first in Sam O'Reilly or something like that. First, another pick in Sam O'Reilly.
I really don't know.
But to get Carlo with the term and to have Marchand for a run, you do basically.
Yeah, Carlo's a big piece in that for me. It's not even Marchand.
To get the years on Carlo is huge.
It's a great, and especially with the cap going up. Like,
yeah,
was he 4-1?
Yeah.
Holy moly. That'd be sick.
All right, what's trending for our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant? Tomorrow's the Sherwood Ford Giant game day edition of the show. Just a reminder, you can win your way into the Nation Vacation by using and booking the Nation Valet service. Again, even if you don't need the service for a little bit, book it in. Say you want the Nation Valet service. You will get entered in. It is one of the best things going. You never need to visit the dealership again for routine car maintenance. Call them up, say my vehicle needs an oil change. They drive to you, pick up your car, drive it back to the dealership, do the work, drive it right back to you. Never have to leave your house or your place of work, and the work's done. It's that easy. What's trending, Liam? Scotty's this weekend. Hello.
The Holman Empire continues to reign. God, she is so good. That whole team is amazing.
She's a dynasty.
They literally have 22-0 in the Scotties the last 2 years. Yesterday, she shot a perfect game, which is
curled 100%.
The third time she's done that in the Scotty. Like, Einarson was playing fine, but Holman was playing so good that it forced Einarson to do some stuff she wouldn't usually do. And
who are you talking about? First name?
Rachel Holman.
Thank you.
She is unreal. They're gonna win gold.
Northern Ontario merchant though. Why won't she curl out of Alberta?
Her husband is the assistant coach on the Camrose Kodiaks, or the head coach.
Really?
Yeah.
She lives in Alberta.
Yeah, I know. I think.
Why won't she curl? Is she a Northern Ontario merchant? Answer the question, Liam. Answer the difficult question.
No, she's not. She's the best curler in the world. I think she'd beat most men's teams. Like, if she went to the Briars, she'd be in contention to win.
Really?
She is legit. She's so accurate. The shots she makes are nuts. But I'm excited for the Briar. That is coming up on Friday. The group is nuts.
Philadelphia Eagles have turned down an invitation to the White House. We'll get Frank's take on that Wednesday.
Why?
Because he's an Eagles fan.
No, why did they turn it down?
Oh, I don't know. I'm only reading the headlines on what's trending. Steve Smith, former NFLer, he's trending. You did some research on this.
Steve Smith, the cricketer from Australia.
Tyler, why is he trending?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm just reading the headlines. That's all.
Bolton won this weekend.
Hey, Wanderers up. Who do we beat?
We beat Leyton Orient 2-1. Big win. Severance was epic.
I'm like 3 episodes back now because I've been on the road.
God, I have such a good theory, too.
Okay, well, I'll try to get caught up in the next day or two here.
Please. Remember to ask Louis about it tomorrow.
I have a trivia night tonight. You want to know a trivia night?
What kind of trivia?
I don't know.
Generic?
My friend asked me to go, so we're going to go to our trivia night. So that'll be exciting. I'll let you know tomorrow what it's about. Nothing else trending for me, I don't think. Nothing much happened.
Curling is... I'm not going to read that.
What is that one?
No, I'm just actually going to delete that.
Curling.
Oh, no, I don't need to delete it. It's actually not that bad. Anyways.
Yeah.
Tyler reads headlines. Accuracy may vary is a great segment. It's fair. Let's wrap up the show for our friends at Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Same game or shot prop parlay tonight. Tyler Toffoli has hit his shot prop in 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Hertel has hit it in 5 in a row. Parlay them together. It's plus 360. Boom.
I don't know what the odds are, and it doesn't matter. But Kyle Connor power play point tonight against San Jose.
Ooh.
I don't know what it is.
Coming out of the break makes sense.
That'd be a great
Makes sense. Are you keeping your eye on spring training baseball at all?
No, I was honestly a little bit annoyed yesterday So I was going through the Sportsnet app to watch the Oilers game. And usually it's just like the first one that's up for me. And like 11 o'clock in the morning it should be. And I had Blue Jays Red Sox spring game. Kind of pissed me off. I had to scroll over one more.
The fact you can, there's lines today on the spring training games.
Don't do it.
All right, I won't. I'm going to do that shot prop parlay, though.
Yeah, good call.
Louis DeBrusk is on the show tomorrow. It's a Sherwood Ford Giant game day, so excited for all of that.
Yep, that'll be sick. Can't wait to talk to Jay about Bouchard on the game day.
Yeah, actually, the big three will be reunited. We haven't done a show together for a while.
Who's Bosch?
No comment. No
Yeah.
comment.
Why not? 2 rings. He had a great player.
I got a CB4 jersey.
Wow.
CB4.
Miami.
No, Raptors.
Oh, Raptors. That makes sense, though.
Didn't he play for another team after Miami?
No.
Oh, he was just done.
His heart.
Oh no, I know. I thought he had like a 1 year with someone.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, well, that's a wrap on today's edition of the show. I loved having Dubnyk on. He texted me, said it went great.
I'm glad he thought so. That
I
was
liked
good.
his backdrop. It was awesome. Yeah, so we'll have him on every week going forward. Tomorrow it's Louis DeBrusk and more. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll see you tomorrow, noon Mountain Time. Right back here. Oil up.